And that's why I believe in you, because that is the greatest purpose. It's to love. Honest. It sounds corny, whatever you want to say. I don't care. I love people because there is freedom and power in loving people.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality, and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life, well, that's another, which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. I'm the one who will be here with you each and every Wednesday, interviewing a different consciousness changemaker that is also out there working tirelessly to help catalyze change and expand awareness all across Spaceship Earth. On the other 4 weekdays, you can hear me discussing topics such as my favorite thought-provoking quotes, reading and discussing wisdom from empowering books, playing clips from various inspirational spiritual teachers, sharing a bit of mysterious news, taking questions from the audience, and essentially digging into any other mind-expansive topics that will help keep your soul fed by tuning you into positive vibrations on a consistent basis. And you guys have heard me say that if I ever run ads on the show, it will only be with a company that I fully support because I believe their intention is to make a positive difference in the world. Well, I'm pleased to announce that day has arrived and that this episode of the Positive Head Podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. All right, all you positive heads, on this week's interview episode, I am very happy to have the founder of the Love Party, Amori, here with me on the show. Now, before you get too excited thinking that this is the type of love party that would require you to put your keys in a bowl, we're actually talking political parties here because Paul is running for mayor of Los Angeles, California, under the unprecedented premise of voting for love on 2017's mayoral ballot. Hey there, Paul. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Pleasure to be here.
Such a pleasure to have you. All right. Well, I'm going to start where I always start. You're in an elevator. You've got 10 floors to answer. The guy next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" What do you say?
Very simple, my friend. I turn to him and I say, "My passion is spreading love."
Well, that's simple enough. Makes a lot of sense. Now, we just met recently at a party, and I was absolutely fascinated by what you're doing here. And I guess let's start at the beginning. How did you get started on this very unique sort of path that you have started down?
Well, I was elected the mayor of the Lightning in a Bottle Music Festival in 2012.
Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar, you can go back. Let me just interject real quick.
Of course.
I actually did an interview with Dee Dee Fleming, one of the founders of Lightning in a Bottle, an amazing festival. So if you want to learn more about that, certainly a lot of love there. But okay, go right ahead. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Absolutely. We love Dee Dee. We love all of the Do-Labbers, and they do an amazing job and are very, very much in alignment with what I'm doing. In fact, we are talking about how they can help with the campaign.
Excellent.
But, in 2012, I was elected in a mayoral race for the festival, the mayoral race for the Lightning in a Bottle Festival. And I was up against some stiff competition, but I created a campaign called Vote for Love. And the idea was, how do you get people excited about actually trying to create love and, in fact, voting for love in this case, in a political setting inside of the music festival. So somewhat, more tongue-in-cheek. But how do you get people interested in this idea of voting for love? And we had debates. We had a whole thing in an actual election. And surprisingly to myself, the idea of voting for love caught, and the people loved it. And Amori, I was a big hit at the festival, and the idea of voting for love became very popular, and I won the election and was announced in front of 10,000 people, and right before the main stage act on closing night, that I was now mayor of the festival. And it was an exciting moment, to be sure. And I went out and met the people, and that very night, sort of excited by the whole affair, I announced that I was going to next year create a stage for the festival called Amori's Casino and Burlesque. And this idea formed sort of fully in my head in this moment of inspiration to create this sort of palace of love, this place where people could come together and worship love in many, many different forms. And that this was going to be my gift to the festival and also to this community who had nurtured me in so many different ways. And I went ahead and did it. So I approached the Do Lab the following year. And the Do Lab, I presented a proposal, and they loved the proposal and said, "This is fantastic, but we have no money for you. We will support you if you want to build this. If you want to bring this, we will support you in any way we can, but not financially." And I said, and they didn't know me, so I understand. And I said, okay, well, then in that case, I'm going to create a Kickstarter and actually an Indiegogo. I'll create an Indiegogo, and I'm going to raise the money myself. And we ended up raising $15,000 and building Amori's Casino and Burlesque. And it was a big hit, and the festival then approached me and said, well, next year we want to give you a budget and see what you can do with that. And this has now been a partnership going back we just completed our fourth lightning in a bottle. And we have since done other parties. We do an annual Valentine's Day party. And of course, it's always about how do we create love in a beautiful setting? How do we make people feel love? How do we take care of people in a way that fills their hearts? So at the beginning of this year, as we were seeing this incredibly vitriolic presidential campaign take shape, we had this idea of what would it look like to actually bring Vote for Love out of the festival culture and try and make that happen in the real world, in politics.
Quite the leap.
Quite the leap. But I had been mayor of Lightning in a Bottle. I have the nickname of the Mayor of Love. And so we said, what if we ran for mayor of Los Angeles, which is my hometown? And so it made sense to say, why not go for something big and try something big and really try and be the antidote to what we're seeing out there in the world right now, certainly in politics. If you will, to be the anti-Trump. And that was the inspiration.
Wow. What a riot. I mean, to go from like a mock, mayor, to become the mock mayor, so in a fun, jokey way, at a festival, something that's all play, and then for it to actually transition into, what if this was really a part of, the real political scene? And here you are, all these years later after starting that, and you've actually just... You've taken this very seriously. Like I remember even right before we met, seeing a clip someone had shared on my Facebook feed or somewhere with the news started covering you running for mayor. And this is prior to you getting the votes. You have to have a certain amount of votes and so forth to even make it on the ballot, right?
Technically, it's signatures. You collect 1,000 signatures. Right. And you have to submit those to the city, and then the signatures have to be validated before you can be on the ballot. So, yes.
Right. And you have just achieved that.
That's right.
Congratulations on that. That is incredible.
Thank you very much. Yes, we were the third to turn in our signatures after one other charming woman named Diane Pinky Harmon, who's also running. And then the first was, of course, the incumbent, Mr. Eric Garcetti. So we were the third to turn them in what looks to be quite a large group of mayoral candidates. There are at least 13 people who turned in signatures. That's actually quite reduced from the 24 candidates who were at one time who had turned in the paperwork. But only 13 people turned in the signatures. And then it's very possible that not all of them will have all of their signatures qualified. So they're still counting signatures. I imagine sometime later this week we'll get a full statement of the number of candidates who have qualified.
Wow. And when is the actual election?
Yeah, so that's a question that most Angelinos actually don't know. When is the mayoral election?
Right.
It's part of our mission statement, actually, is to educate people about this. The election is March 7th. And of course, the fact that it is sort of off year, that it doesn't coincide with the presidential election or some of the other races that are happening, makes it something that is even less popular and less known even. So it's definitely part of our platform is creating awareness about this municipal election, which is March 7th of next year.
Right. So once again, just to stress to people, I mean, so you went from a festival to now being on the ballot for Los Angeles, the second largest city in the country, correct. I believe.
Yes.
To on the ballot. I mean, that's just wonderful. You're committed, obviously. So what do you do from here? How do you get people first off to take it serious? That's obviously something that you're bringing this very lighthearted sort of character, right? It's absolutely wonderful. Obviously, you do want to win, I'm assuming.
Of course, I want to win. Of course, I'm in it to win it. But there's something more important than winning. I believe that I don't have to win for love to win. So. Yeah, what that means to me is essentially what we're doing here is trying to create a new political platform, a new model for politics that is, the idea behind the Love Party, which is something I founded in which is the party that I'm running under, is that how do you create the most love for the most people, right? So all of our mission, all of our platform, all of our policies are steeped in the core value of love. Now, I understand I'm not naive enough to think that love is the only thing that goes into politics. But if you examine your campaign, for instance, how do you run a campaign that is based in love? So typically, for instance, what we've seen in the last presidential election cycle more than any other time, perhaps in American history, was this incredible vitriol and anger and smear tactics. And both parties, whoever you voted for, both parties ran on fear, essentially. Trump was running on fear the immigrants, fear the minorities, fear that this country is being taken away from the white middle and upper class. And of course, Hillary ran on fear Trump. So, so both parties, and you can see, I mean, even though Trump won the election, he did so with 3 million votes less than Romney got in the previous election and he was beaten by Obama. And so it's not necessarily that he won in this crazy landslide, as he likes to declare. It's more that nobody really showed up to support Hillary, or very few people showed up to support Hillary. And I believe that's because she wasn't offering anything new. She was saying things are fine. Don't vote for Trump. He was saying things are not fine. I'm going to change it. And so, but bottom line is, as I was watching the debates, I couldn't help but think, here's, an hour and a half of programming. And in that time, what would happen if you were to strip out the name calling and the back and forth and the anger? I think you would end up with maybe 10 minutes of dialogue about the actual issues and the platforms that they were both running on. Right. So what happens in a campaign when love rules the campaign and how you behave in a campaign? Then in my opinion, what happens is you get candidates who respect each other. If you respect the other candidates, not only can you strip out sort of you remove you suck all the oxygen out of the air in regards to negative campaigning, right? So instead of saying, this person's terrible, I hate them, this is how awful they are, I say, I love this person. I love that this person steps up and says they're going to try and lead and try and make a change. Now, we may have differences of opinion as to what makes the best change, but I respect that this person is doing that because, hey, they're trying to lead and trying to make a difference. And that is something that anyone who does should be saluted for. So why even spend a moment talking about how I dislike this or I hate that? Why not say instead, I love that you're doing this. I love that you're doing that. Here's how I would do these things, or maybe, I mean, the other thing that we get when we leave out the sort of which side of the aisle you're on, you can pull things from anywhere, right? You can be influenced and inspired by philosophies from all across the board. You can say, Socialism had a couple of things right. Here they are. Donald Trump, I like what you said about this. Or Clinton, I like what you said about this. Obviously, Bernie Sanders, I love many things that you've said.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, all of these doors are open to you. Where when you say no or when you say this is wrong, those doors are shut. And so, using love as a tool, it opens you up. It allows for many, many possibilities. So that's, of course, running the campaign. But then, how do you apply that same philosophy to creating policies? How, for instance, can you use love to put an end to our horrible blight of homelessness in this city? We have the worst chronic homeless population in the country, the biggest chronic homeless population in the country. How do you go about solving that issue with love as your core value? That's not to say, again, that it's only love that solves that. But if you're really concerned with trying to love the homeless and trying to put them into homes and trying to do that for the most people that you can and change this terrible epidemic, then you should be looking at every possible solution. You shouldn't be considering, for instance, that maybe you have a donor who has is a big builder and wants to be building high income houses and doesn't want to have to think about Section 8 or other low income housing opportunities. These are the things that politicians have to weigh. But if you strip all that out and you say, no, I'm not going to worry about the typical things that a politician has to worry about, I'm only worried about creating the most love for the most people, then the answers, I believe, are much more simple and much clearer.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any sort of interest in politics prior to your lightning in a bottle debut?
I think I've always been interested in politics. I've always been, I've observed what happens in this country. But and I participated to some degree. I certainly went door to door for both Kerry and for Obama. I went to Nevada to a swing state and canvassed for both of them. But I would say maybe where it counts most, which is I believe in local politics, where you're literally talking about the policies and the politics that shape your very backyard. I have been, like so many, I think, disenfranchised. I have felt that I could not make a difference. And so for me, this turn and this decision to jump in has shown me, it's been so educational to me, and has shown me how essential it is that we become involved, and how essential it is that we believe we can make a difference and that we try to do so. When we are apathetic, we see what happens. We just saw that when people are, when people sow the seeds of apathy, people don't show up. And when they don't show up, you see what happens. And so there's so much energy in the streets around people now feeling anger and frustration and wanting to make a change. And yet so few people, I think, understand or have an outlet for doing so. And so part of what I'm trying to offer is a loving and fun way to get engaged in local politics and to realize how much power the individual actually can have.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely love your approach of, it makes me think of Mother Teresa, who, Nobel Prize winner. Of course, we're all familiar with her. And she was asked to march in the war against Vietnam. And she was like, no, I'll never do that. But, have a march for peace and I'll be there. And that's essentially what you're saying is I'll be for something. I'll point out the good, but I'm not going to pick apart my candidates. I'm not going to sort of lower myself, which has become the status quo, even at the highest level of our government. I mean, we look at, now the person who is the president. Could there be someone who's more easily baited and it's sort of petty and childlike in their way of attacking other people? And so
he just attacked. I just saw him do a whole diatribe about being offended that he was not named Man of the Year, that he's Person of the Year.
Right.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
The ego, to me, it's like he represents the overinflated ego, for all of mankind at this point in time in our transition to a more loving, open, accepting society where borders are blurred and we understand that we're actually on a rock hurtling through an infinite cosmos, and we couldn't all be more similar when you compare what's really going on here. So I think it's sort of like a final gasp, I guess, of this old ego self that is so overinflated for so many, and it's
ego and fear, ego and fear.
Right.
It's a shifting country. It's a dramatically shifting country in ethnicity, and we're watching the white minority shrink down, and that's scary to people. And I understand people's fear. I certainly would never belittle anyone's fear. It's people, especially in the areas where Trump prevailed the most, don't have exposure to the kind of multiculturalism we see in, for instance, a city like Los Angeles. And people are hurting, and they're not feeling like things are okay. Many people feel that they have been left behind by the system. And so, of course, I understand why people want change. And, I won't speak negatively about Trump. It's clear. All you have to know is that my policies are love-based to know where we differ in opinion. Sure. If he's listening out there, I'll say, Trump, if you need a little love advisor, if you need someone to be in your cabinet to advise you on love, call Amori. I'm here for you.
And what I say about Trump too, and I was just having a conversation with someone. I was like, you might be surprised. What I like about Trump is he's sort of this unpredictable character. I like the fact that he's not this cookie cutter status quo. That part, and of course, I believe that's why he got elected to begin with, right? And you might see this guy all of a sudden. Maybe that's his soul's sort of journey where he gets into office and there becomes some radical awakening and enlightening that sort of takes place, and he could shock us. Put it that way. I mean, there's nothing that I could expect almost anything from him. So I like to hope and think that perhaps he'll get in and all of a sudden realize what an opportunity he has to shock the world and become like the greatest hero of all time by becoming more like you, right? Becoming more loving and sort of changing some of his thoughts on whether it be climate change or borders or any of these things. Any of us can realize, I think if anyone's here, they can at least acknowledge that we're all still learning and growing. And if he can get to that point and actually show that on the world stage, imagine what an impact he could have.
You never know, right? And we can only hope, and we can try and support him in I think we need to support him in making that change. And
absolutely.
Exactly. So, you have rays of hope when you see, for instance, the impact that his meeting with Al Gore seemed to have on him.
Right.
And I just read another article where he was asked if he would be throwing away all of Obama's legacy, and he vehemently said, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. So, like you say, I think time will tell, and we have to love the guy and hope that we can sway him into making some good decisions that'll actually impact us and impact the country and our planet in a positive way.
Yeah, I just read that he met with Leonardo DiCaprio and promised that he would watch his movie. And so those sorts of things give me some level of hope and that he is, willing to listen and be open-minded. And so, yeah, like you said, we'll see. But, as far as your path from here. So now, here you are, you're on the actual ballot. You have your shot. What are you doing to sort of prepare from this point? What is the roadmap?
So there's a few things. Right now, there's a couple very important steps. We are honing in on the policies that are most important to our platform and to our campaign. I can give you the kind of the high level, which is that I believe that a city is an ecosystem, of course, right? And I spoke first about the homeless, and the homeless population and the homeless epidemic in Los Angeles is the nearest and dearest issue to my heart. In some ways, I'm beginning to make my campaign a sort of one-issue campaign centered on the homelessness, because to me, not only is this a tragedy and a travesty, and shameful to our fair city, but it's also something that I believe can be most impacted by love. And when you dig into the problem, you can see that there are many solutions to homelessness, which other places have figured out. For instance, Utah has done a fantastic job of almost eliminating their homeless problem. And some of these ways in doing this are essentially a giving of love, an acknowledgement that some people are just going to need our help, that the chronic homeless need housing first. housing,
Right.
and then we treat the issues that they are dealing with, from mental abuse to substance abuse. But that's, certainly one of the most important issues to me. However, when you dig deeper and you start thinking about these issues, you recognize that it's an ecosystem, and there are certain things that have contributed to this problem. For instance, certainly we are experiencing a terrible shortage of housing, which causes living costs to rise. We're something like 100,000 houses short of being able to house all the people who are looking for housing in Los Angeles. So
wow.
It becomes supply and demand. The less supply you have, the more demand you have, the more expensive things get, right? And so we need to be dealing with that, because when the housing is so expensive, when rents are so expensive, it makes it so much easier to become homeless. You have one twist of fate and you're out of a job for a month or two, and suddenly you can't pay your rent and you're out on the street. You can't pay your mortgage. So it's an ecosystem. We have to take care of these things. I believe that there are ways to reduce traffic through technology like automated cars, driverless cars, that will actually
which is on the way, right?
We are on the way to this, and I would like to make LA one of the first cities in the country to adopt this technology as quickly as possible. Because when you do this, you find out that we are massively overbuilt. Our roads are overbuilt. We'll need less cars, especially when we start using cars more to service us rather than the other way around. So that not everybody even has to own a car, because the cars are just there for us. You need a car. It's in sort of the same model as an Uber. A driverless car comes and picks you up and takes you where you need to go. So suddenly
I saw something about this the other day, and it was talking about what a revolution it's going to be. Because no one owns a car. All the cars are used by everyone, and they're all synced up. They're all talking to one another, and they're picking up and dropping people off as they need to be picked up and dropped off. And I forgot it's been maybe a month or so ago, but the statistics were pretty fascinating about how much less traffic.
It's pretty fascinating. It's inevitable. What we end up with is less traffic, less pollution and congestion, which of course is amazing. And certainly we believe that red isn't the only color of love, that green is also the color of love, because we're very, very concerned with the environment. And so you end up with that, but you also end up with realizing that our roads are overbuilt, that we have all of this excess space being used for parking structures and parking garages that suddenly can be given to homes, to places to build homes for the homeless, for more living spaces for the people in need of homes. So embracing disruptive technologies like this that are coming anyway. Why not try and hearken these things in? There's other things, also we need to increase and change the way we handle our public transportation. When you do that, then, when you make public transportation really work for us, you give an incentive to get people out of cars, So there's all these things that work together. And if we start looking at, again, in a loving way, and what that means in this scenario is a loving way means being able to look at every possibility and say, wow, this, if we can do this affects this thing over here. And if we can do this, it affects this thing over here. And that's our priority. So when you start looking into these things, then everything changes and you have all of these opportunities at your fingertips.
Right.
So shoring up our policies and really being very clear on our website and so forth moving forward about what the policies are and what we're really trying to do is cementing all of that is the mission for the next couple of weeks. We are also, again, I believe love at its heart is inclusivity. So that means I don't want to be the kind of leader that stands in front of people and says, this is what's happening. I want to be the kind of leader who says, let's come together and together as a city determine the best solutions for all of us. We are effectively creating crowdsourced governance. We are going to be updating the website, which is vote4love.com. We're going to be updating the website in the next month, hopefully by the time the new year rolls around, with all sorts of surveys and leaderboards that will all be about how to get people engaged, and so that people can actually create solutions that they see, or tell us about the issues that they want to deal with, the things how do they want to vote for love in their city? How do you vote for love? And make that a big central part of what we're doing. Certainly, if I were to become mayor, I would make a department that was purely about hearing ideas from citizens about how they can make change in their city and try and escalate those changes into policy. So those are the kind of core steps moving forward. And then much of it is about eyeballs. I need to get eyeballs on what we're doing. So it's trying to just get out there to talk to people, to do things like this wonderful podcast of yours, to be on radio shows and television shows, letting people know what we're doing. The only way you compete with someone like a Garcetti, who's an incumbent and a popular mayor and has already raised over $2 million for his campaign. And I don't wish to raise a fraction of that even. I mean, we don't believe that kind of money should be in a local political race that very few people are planning on voting in anyway. But that said, the only way you compete with someone like that is to sort of be what I am, which is a somewhat splashy, somewhat noisy candidate, who people can rally behind. I mean, in essence, all I'm trying to be really is a symbol of love, an embodiment of love in action. Voting for love is if you put Amori on the ballot, you're putting love on the ballot. That's what we are trying to do. So, the next steps are policy, building out the team. We're looking for volunteers, for donors, for people who want to get involved and be part of the staff, and to get out there and to reach as many Angelenos as possible. And then hopefully beyond that, I mean, this whatever happens in this race, I don't intend to stop after this. This is going to be a movement that we're pushing for.
Lovely. I can envision President Amori one day.
Yeah, you're not the first to say that. Then we'll see. That's a big commitment.
All right. Well, now seems like a good moment to take a quick minute to tell those of you who aren't familiar a bit about our sponsor, Gaia. I've been a big fan of Gaia for many years now, which is why they're the only content provider I've ever reached out to in regards to potentially supporting the Positive Head podcast. So needless to say, I'm very excited they're now supporting the show. Gaia truly is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web. They have an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. Just to give you an example, on May 1st on the show Wisdom Teachings, host David Wilcock explores the scientific proof of ascension, DNA activation, and how interplanetary climate change is made possible with nested spheres of energy emanating from the galaxy. I mean, it'd be pretty hard to be more up my alley, right? As you guys all constantly hear me say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to go deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Yeah. Hey, if Trump can make it, anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
So for those that are listening, obviously, being based in the LA area, the show being based in the LA area, of course, there's listeners all over the world. For people who aren't local, who love what you're doing, what is there is there any way that they can proactively help, to raise awareness for people who aren't in Los Angeles?
Absolutely. There's so many ways. I mean, first of all, find us on social, like what we're doing, share it with your friends all over the place. And certainly if you know people who live in LA, make sure they know what we're doing. There are so many things we need. You need so much to do a campaign. Obviously, we need some money. We're gonna have to raise some money, so that helps. Yeah. But we want people's hearts and people's ideas more than anything else. So if you have ideas wherever you are that you feel can be applied to what we're trying to do in Los Angeles, please let us know. We are nothing if not open. We're trying to create a very transparent campaign. And trying to foster transparency in politics in our city, as well as hopefully create this model, as I said, a model for politics, certainly in our country in general, but hopefully beyond that, beyond the borders of this country, and to become an international movement about how politics should be in the world, how we should be showing up for our politics. Politics should be serving us and the people, right? That's the only thing. I mean, So get involved if you have ideas, if you have people that you think should be connected to me. We need influencers who get behind what we're doing and want to spread this out to other people. I mean, there's so many ways. Again, if you go to the website, you can contact me very easily on the Vote for Love website and just let me know. I mean, but I want people from all over to be engaged with this. This is certainly an experiment we are trying to do in Los Angeles. But again, I believe this to be the beginning of something that I hope will spread far beyond the confines of Los Angeles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you've talked a little bit about some of your core policy. So are you currently educating yourself in any way to sort of, I mean, have you really thought about, what it would be like to be in office? I mean, I keep picturing that and how incredibly amazing that would be. Is there much of a learning curve? I mean, if Trump can step in and be president, right? Is it something where you feel like you can just sort of wing it once you get in, or is there any sort of preparation that you're currently doing?
Of course, there's a ton of preparation. Trump has basically effectively proven that, I have the same experience going into office as Trump does, right?
Right.
So it's certainly doable. But listen, I mean, I have an incredible think tank of people that are surrounding me and helping take part in this election. And, to borrow a line from Trump, I plan to surround myself with some very smart people. I am gulping up as much information as possible about what it means to be a mayor, what it means to actually run the city. We have a mayor. There's multiple ways and multiple kind of forms of mayors, depending on, not every city operates the same. Our mayor is a very strong mayor in terms of the power that he wields. So that means you have to really know what you're doing. You have to know sort of what the structure is of the governance. But of course, look, if I win and I'm elected and I don't have the experience, the garbage is still going to get collected. There are systems in place that run without the mayor saying, "Hey, make sure the garbage is picked up on Thursday." So, there's going to be a steep learning curve, and of course, not everything will be necessarily love-based as we move into actual governance, because some problems don't even involve that. But yes, I'm actively very much surrounding myself with allies, trying to educate myself constantly about governance, and trying to find partners who believe in the mission, who want to come on board and become a part of this. Yeah.
Excellent.
Again, the beauty of love is its egoless, right? So I don't have to sit here and tell you how great I am and how much I know. I'm trying to say, you guys know better than I do. Come be a part of this with me. I'm just the one who's getting up in front and trying to move it forward. But I want to be doing this with you, not for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any sort of, I feel like some sort of a viral campaign within the city of Los Angeles especially would be, an excellent, because of the uniqueness and how many people there are who are part of even the festival community that we're both a part of, that live in the LA area. Is there any sort of plan to get those people up off, whatever it is they're doing on voting day? Have you had any sort of plans that I guess you've committed to get people to vote?
Absolutely. We are viral, as you nailed it. I mean, that's what we have to do. For this to make a dent, we have to go viral, right? And so there are a number of ways in which we plan on doing that. Excuse me. First of all, we are engaging not just festival culture, but a number of different communities across LA to help us become messengers. Certainly, festival culture is one of them, and we are thousands of people strong. Most of whom know about the mission and are behind it and excited about what we're doing. So we definitely plan on engaging those people. The Do Lab is going to be helping out to push out the word around that. And then I am launching a series of viral videos, what I hope to be viral videos. I'm going to be going out and, in the spirit of the campaign, which I broke down to you earlier, starting to create a couple of different video series. One, I'm going to create a video series about the different mayoral candidates who are running and what I love about them.
That's so great. Let me just say, I love that.
Hey, that's the idea, my friend. I think you just got the virus.
So good. Okay.
Yeah, so I want to go out there, and I hope they'll cooperate with me, because I will be doing this from a loving place, and that I'll actually be able to interview all of the candidates and let them talk about their platform and what they believe in. Because, again, because of the nature of this campaign, yes, I'm asking people to vote for me, but most importantly, I'm asking people to vote. We have an expected voter turnout of under 20%. Some say 10 to 17%, which means you can win this election with a very small amount of votes. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 125,000 to 160,000 votes to win in a city of 2.5 million registered voters, which is shockingly low. So if we can engage people to come out and vote, that's a win for us, whether they're voting for us or not. If we get people to come out and vote because I've educated them about the other candidates and they decide they want to come out and vote for them, and that's fantastic. If they want to come out and vote for me, fantastic. If they want to come out and vote for someone else just to make sure this crazy Italian guy wearing red and talking about love never sets foot anywhere near City Hall, I'm fine with that. Just come out and vote. So that's a big portion of what we're doing. And now the next video series, and this was inspired by my conversation with the Do Lab, is going to be about local governance. We believe that people are not inspired to vote because they don't even understand what local politics do and what it does for them and what it does for their city. So I'm going to start doing videos that break down in a very fun way what it actually means to be mayor. What does it mean to be a city council? Who are these people? What do they do? In a very fun way that's engaging for people. And I think those are that's a part of the viral plan is to really just be transparent. It's not about voting for me. It's just about voting, and it's about voting for love, voting with your heart. So don't just vote for love. Love your vote.
Yeah. What a wonder. I absolutely love the idea of sort of showcasing the other. I mean, who's ever done that? The candidate, you're running against them and you're showcasing them and pointing out the good in them. I mean, what a brilliant idea, and certainly the embodiment of what you say that you stand for, right?
You have to practice what you preach.
Walking the talk. Yes, indeed.
Exactly. Every day I ask myself, are my actions coming from love? Are my actions, are my ideas being motivated by love, by ego? What's really going behind this? And I'm constantly checking in about that.
Yeah, that is, I believe the core and we talk about it all the time on the show, what is the intention of whatever you're doing? What is the underlying intention? And if your underlying intention is truly love, which it sounds to be, it feels to be, you really can't lose. As you said, said earlier, you're just putting love on the ballot. You've already had a humongous victory.
Every day I win, I mean, that's the beauty of this. You talked about the signature process. If any of you have ever done that, if any of your listeners have ever done this, standing outside of a supermarket or on the street corner or at a farmer's market, asking people to sign your petition to help put you on the ballot, it can be a bit of a soul-crushing experience. And I have no problem when people say, no, I'm not comfortable, or I need to know more about what you're doing. Fantastic. But what I saw so often out there was people who couldn't even engage, people who can't even look at you. They're so, busy in their own world. We stop acknowledging people. Now, I have a distinct advantage in that I'm a little bit harder to walk away from.
Right.
Here I am saying, hello, my friend, will you help me put love into City Hall? I'm running for mayor of Los Angeles. Just about every time somebody turns their head. But what ended up, my favorite thing was to watch people as I would start to talk my talk, as they're kind of walking past me. They get past me. I get out my spiel, and moments later they turn. They smile and they look at me and they come back and they talk with me, or they look at me and say, no, thank you, but good luck. And I turn to every single one, even the ones who ignore me, and I say, no matter what, I still love you, my friend. And I guarantee you, just about everybody I said that to smiled. And I personally hugged every single person who signed my petition. which means
That's
I
beautiful.
collected most of them myself. So somewhere around the neighborhood of 600, 700 people got an Amori hug while we were doing this. But just in doing this, in sort of shocking people out of their apathy, out of their fear of making contact, is a victory. And every time somebody turns and smiles, every time somebody acknowledges you, that's a victory. And it's a victory for love, and it's a victory for all of us. And so, just getting out there and making people feel good is wonderful. And then, of course, there are the many people who are so excited about what I'm doing. For everyone who doesn't stop and doesn't want to talk about it, there's two who get either just love it right off the bat, and they say, I'm voting for you just because I love your suit, I love your red.
Yeah,
and then there are those who engage me in a conversation and say, this sounds good, but tell me what you're really about. And we have a conversation. Yeah. And there hasn't been a single person that I have had that conversation with who hasn't said, I love what you're doing. This is fantastic. Yeah. So, that to me is the win. It's just getting out there and seeing how many people are hungry for something different, and how many people are hungry to have more love in the world. And you touch one person, and in a way, that's all you need to do. If you touch one person and spur them into action, then you've made a difference.
Absolutely.
I like to think I've already touched more than that. Well,
yes.
Not in that kind of way, although maybe sometimes as well.
Mr. Polyamory, we never know.
Yes, you never know.
Well, one of the funny things, you and I were chatting beforehand, and of course I always ask for a story of synchronicity or serendipity or something like that, and you're like, I don't really know if I have one, and then you were like, well, one thing that's pretty interesting is this slogan that has caught on during the election season is what? Love trumps hate. And so it seems like you're right in the flow with that. So I would say that counts as a little bit of a mini synchronicity in my book, and certainly you've already won, as you said, and I have a feeling this is gonna spread in all kinds of ways that you really can't foresee from here. But I think we've all thought it before. Like, wow, I know I have. What if someone got in and talked completely different and really, in my case, I love talking about the connectivity of all things and oneness and sort of the spiritual side of things. What if someone got up and really started talking about that? You always see the same rhetoric about, it's almost like they feel like they have to say they're Christian, whether they are or aren't, just because that's the status quo. What if someone got up and started talking about, is something even beyond organized religion, and so it's wonderful to see that someone has actually taken action and started down that path.
Well, by the way, I am quite religious. Love is my God, and as a result, I believe that I am an extremely religious person. Right. So you said it right there. It's connectivity is everything, and connectivity is love. And yes, love trumps hate. I mean, an amazing thing to, when I first, we had our rally, the kind of announcement about the campaign on November 11th. We announced that we were running, that I was running for mayor on the steps of City Hall. We had a giant love rally. And you can imagine that we've been planning this for quite a while and had been, back and forth about what date to do this. It so happened that it was Veterans Day, and of course, I'm trying to do, work with veterans and specifically homeless veterans, and it made sense to make the day about giving back to the veterans. And of course, it was 3 days after the election results came in. I, like everybody else, believed that we were going to be stepping into a Hillary Clinton presidency, and that essentially there would be a news vacuum a few days later. That anything that was happening, any kind of demonstrations that were happening, would not be anywhere near Los Angeles. That would have been the opposite. We would see that in the middle of the country. And so, as I started to plan out the rally, I expected that I would mostly be talking about the vitriol and the anger that was seen in the campaign and in the tactics that were used and employed in the presidential campaign. But then, of course, Trump won, and it became a very different conversation. Within days, there are protests. There are people holding up these signs that say, "Love trumps hate." And I really had to. That was a moment of really deep introspection and saying, am I doing this for the right reasons in this time of very, very fearful, angry, scared moment in our country? I have to make sure that what I'm doing is not adding to that. I have to make sure what I'm doing is making that better and helping that and being some medicine. Sure. And that meant, really checking in and making sure that my motives were pure, that I was doing this for the right reasons. And took some soul searching. I didn't want to add fuel to the fire. But then I realized, and everyone who came out to the rally told me how it was the first time they had felt good since the election. It was the first time they had felt hope since the election, and I came to realize how important this is. And as you've said, the messenger, Amori, myself, I am flamboyant. I am, a little strange. But all of that,
all the best people are.
And all of that is a tool in some ways, right? It is, it is my freedom of expression. This is the way I express love. And of course, we are very much in favor of freedom of expression. This is how I express it. And,
Wonderful.
this is the messenger may be one thing, but the message is as authentic as you can imagine. It is a truly powerful message that I believe with all my heart. And whatever you think of me, whether you love me or you think I'm crazy, I hope you can see that what I'm trying to do is bring more love into the world.
Well, I would say you are a raging success, my friend, doing that. And I want to make sure that people know the best way to reach you, follow you. Is that through your website, right?
Vote for Love. So vote the number 4 love.com is a great way to stay in touch with us. That's also where you can sign on to become a donor, to become a volunteer. If you think you might want to become a part of the staff, that's a great place to do that. But, most of my communication is done on Facebook. If you go to Facebook, Paulie Amori, one word, Facebook / Amori, you can find out what we're doing. You'll see everything we're doing and what we're posting. You can see my daily live stream on Facebook where I talk about the issues that we're facing. It's called Politics. And you can find out about my policies. This goes on for forever.
Oh man!
By the way, in college I studied Poli's thigh.
Oh man! How appropriate!
Hey, right. Thank you. But that's the best way. I'm also pretty active on Twitter. We're getting Instagram off the ground. So like us on social. It's a great way to stay in touch with what we're doing.
So it's Paul. It's Paul Paul and then E and then AMORI.
Right.
Facebook.com/Paul E. Amori. Just to make sure people didn't get confused.
That is correct. I mean, you can also look it up. It's just look up Paulie Amori. But yes, it's facebook.com/Paulie Amori.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so, that's probably the best way to stay in touch. I'm very reachable and generally get back to people very quickly. So me or one of my staff will get in touch with you. And please, I'm looking for ideas. And even if you don't like what I'm doing, let me know. I want to hear all of it. It helps me to know the places where maybe I'm not communicating or not getting through to people. There is no ego here. So, if you have comments and they're negative and you think maybe they will help me to grow, I'm all for it. Please let me know.
Wonderful. That sounds like a very loving attitude. And I do have one last question for you that I always end off with. In 60 seconds or less, what's the meaning of life according to Paulie Amori?
The meaning of life. I believe that whatever legacy you create in the world, whatever your accomplishments, whether they are physical accomplishments, whether you build incredible buildings or you make art or you write music or you are someone who is out there making policies, being a politician, that think about who you will impact in the world and the mark you leave on people, because it's the people that you impact that is your real legacy. It's the communities that you inspire, the individuals that you inspire, the people who feel loved by you. I will say, whatever I do in my life, whatever I have done in my life, the best thing is that I know how many people out there love me and how many people I love and how many people I know I can count on to be there for me if something were to come up. Not only who would be there for me, but who would be delighted to be there for me if I needed them. I had someone do this very nice thing for me the other day where they wrote me a message and said, "What are you doing next week? Do you have a night free?" I said, "Yes." They said, "I would like to send you someone who's just going to take care of you for the night." And they sent me someone to do some body work on me. And I said, "What is this for?" He said, you bring so much love to so many people and you give so much. I just wanted to do it for you. And
wonderful.
That kind of a thing tells me I'm on the right path. So
yeah.
Your legacy doesn't have to be built in stone, in dollars, in what you own. It should be built in the love that you spread on this planet.
I could not agree more. It makes me think of Jim Carrey's statement rather recently where he said the greatest currency there is the effect you have on others, the impact 100%. You have on others. And 100%. My favorite quote on my social media, love is the answer. Now, what was the question? And you, my friend, are the embodiment of that. Thank you so much for being and doing what you're doing. I look forward to supporting and following your progress and ultimately seeing you as mayor of Los Angeles. How wonderful.
Thank you, my friend. And thank you so much for having me on for your wonderful podcast. And to all the listeners, thank you so much for hearing me. And I appreciate all of you. If you ever see me on the street, you don't have to ask. Just give me a hug. I'll be happy to see you.
Free hugs by Paulie Amori, folks.
Without a doubt.
Until next time. Well, everyone, that concludes this week's interview episode. If you have enjoyed this positive download from our hearts and minds to yours, please take a minute, give us a rating or review on iTunes. Since iTunes is the holy grail of all things podcasting, your good reviews help us to reach more listeners. Also, we would be extremely appreciative if you would tell your friends and family about the show. Our sincere intent with the Positive Head podcast is to spread positivity to the world. Because we're selfish, quite honestly. I say that jokingly, but really only halfway joking. I'm referring to the good kind of selfish based on the knowing that we all get what we give in this life, because when we give, we're actually always giving to extensions of self, since we're all really one in the same consciousness, just in different bodies. So if you want to be a good selfish along with us by helping to spread the positivity, by all means, please proceed to shout about the Positive Head podcast from your rooftop. Otherwise, as you continue on your fabulous journey in this 3D reality, be sure to remember this. As long as you ain't dead, you're already positive ahead. Journey well, everyone, and thank you for being.